America has no shortage of conservative organizations, we know that, and we are grateful for every single one of them. But with 2.4 million members across the country, AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is a leader in the fight to make America great again. In the fight for election integrity in California and Virginia, hundreds of AMAC members signed up to be poll workers. In the fight against critical race theory, AMAC sponsored the rally in Loudoun County with speakers like Ben Carson and Governor Glenn Youngkin, where they all pledged that day to fight these anti-American teachings. AMAC's call to action in Arizona led to legislation which was signed into law that bans the use of public funds for critical race theory and training for public employees in Arizona. AMAC action is a huge power inside the states, but it's also a huge power in Washington. In the fight against the $3 trillion Build Back Broke bill, AMAC members sent over 99,000 emails to Congress. In the fight to defeat the Democrats' attempt to impose a federal takeover of our elections, AMAC members sent over 419,000 messages to members of the United States Senate expressing their opposition. AMAC provides Americans with daily news through the AMAC News app. You've probably seen their articles on Real Clear Politics. Donald Trump, Mr. 45 himself, sent out one of AMAC's articles through his PAC. AMAC News Service predicted over a year ago that Democratic extremists in Congress were going to destroy themselves and sink their party in coming elections. Multiple members of Congress have raved about their love for AMAC and the support they provide them in their fight every single day. At the AMAC Patriot Awards, AMAC gave out 103 awards to active members of Congress. On top of everything AMAC and their 2.4 million members do for our country, the AMAC Foundation is a not-for-profit that counsels our nation's seniors about Social Security and retirement. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker, a very dynamic woman, a member of the Council of National Policy and the Texas Border Coalition, the CEO of AMAC, as well as the editor-in-chief of the AMAC magazine. You met her a little bit earlier, a dynamic woman, Rebecca Weber.
It is an honor, such an honor, folks, to have this opportunity to express what is in the hearts and minds of over 2 million AMAC members, all of the great Americans that are here with us today, and countless other Americans across the country. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to introduce one of the greatest leaders in history. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason we can say this is because we remember, and boy do we remember a time when America had a real president and when the White House had a real world leader. We remember when President Trump entered office, he faced economic disarray, a dangerous world crisis, and a political opposition that would stop at nothing to prevent his success. And we remember how President Trump got right to work for the American people. He cut taxes and regulations, leading to the greatest economy our nation has ever seen. He forged new trade deals to defend American workers. He secured our border, rebuilt our military, made America energy independent, and mobilized our country like never before to fight the coronavirus, and that included 3 vaccines and life-saving therapeutics in record time. He beat back the opioid crisis, he lowered prescription drug costs, and he delivered historic wins for our great veterans. He appointed a record number of originalist judges who will now defend our Constitution for a generation. Under President Trump's leadership, America defeated the ISIS caliphate. He eliminated dozens of notorious terrorists and brought peace closer to the Mideast with the historic Abraham Accords. He kept the cruel Iranian regime in check and dispatched Soleimani to the next life, and we know where that is. He brought North Korea to the negotiating table and stopped its nuclear threats. He held China back, and yes, on President Trump's watch, Russia didn't dare to terrify its neighbors and cause a world crisis. So the facts can't be argued with, And the record is clear, and someday historians will have to say what the American people already know. Donald J. Trump was the most successful first-term president in all of American history. And even as we fondly remember when America actually had a real president and a strong world leader, we remember how much President Trump gave us to celebrate and how he brought us together. In fact, you know, President Trump has so many accomplishments, I think he even needs to sometimes be reminded of what we cannot forget and what history will also record, that he gave America the greatest State of the Union speeches and most unifying moments the congressional chamber has ever seen. We remember how Congress rose and cheered when he told the nation that Black and Hispanic unemployment was at its lowest rate in history. As a female entrepreneur, I remember the cheers when he spoke of exploding new opportunities for America's women. Some people want Americans dependent on government or on politicians like themselves, but not this man. President Trump has always wanted America's independent and successful Americans who are proud and free and standing tall, like the American heroes he spoke of in those great State of the Union speeches. And who will ever forget those great men and women in the balcony, like the father the president brought home from a war zone to be reunited with his wife and children, and the moving tributes he shared as he introduced the widows and children of our fallen police officers and our military heroes, as well as the once forgotten victimized families by criminals and illegal immigrants. How proud we were when he introduced the North Korean defector who waved his crutches aloft, and we remember the whole Congress singing happy birthday to a survivor of a horrific synagogue attack, as well as the rabbi who told us that it was Donald Trump who began the healing. And then there was his promotion of the Brigadier General Charles McGee, one of the last surviving Tuskegee airmen, and his grandson, who dreams of being an astronaut, stood next to none other than Buzz Aldrin. And we remember how our president honored the incredible Rush Limbaugh with the Medal of Freedom. And then how can we forget those amazing endings to his speeches, those wonderfully inspiring endings when he brought tears to so many eyes as he spoke of the promise of America. He so thrilled America and stunned his critics that the polls showed 70% approval ratings on CBS and CNN, and we heard them using words like superlative, moving, outstanding. And yes, 40 million Americans had tuned in, which very simply meant that President Donald Trump was bigger than the Oscars, way bigger than the Oscars. And we remember a man who once said that God was the ultimate and the Bible the most important book. And he demonstrated that faith when, for the first time, a sitting president attended the March for Life. And while he warmed hearts and reminded us of our heroes and our glorious past, that was then and this is now, and millions of us are very certain that we haven't yet really had enough of a good thing. So believe me, I speak for the members of AMAC, for everyone here today, and for the rest of America when I tell you how much all of us are looking forward to President Donald J. Trump's next State of the Union address. And just as we are looking forward to that address, we also hope that he will continue to do what he did in that speech at Mount Rushmore or with the 1776 Commission when he first raised the cultural issue of anti-American CRT that had so much impact in Virginia this year. Keep speaking out for American exceptionalism, Mr. President, and please continue to be the one Republican leader who has the courage to speak out against fake news and courageously take on the greatest problem in American society today, the corruption of American journalism. I began by telling you that I wanted to say what was in the hearts of over 2 million AMAC members and millions of Americans and what they would say to him if they could. So I'm going to do that right now by telling him directly, Mr. President, AMAC members voted you their Man of the Year. And never forget, Mr. President, we admire you and we thank you for saving our country. And Mr. President, boy, do we miss you.